Good evening, Internet! You are watching the Non-Pro TV Party Agent Carter recap show. I am your host, Frank, joined not at all in studio by James, AJ, and Matt. Hello, ladies and gentlemen.
Hello!
Oh, let's just abruptly cut off the music, that's fine. On Non-Pro's TV Party, we do a live Google Plus Hangout series where we geek out about our favorite television shows and invite you all to join along. We are not just recapping TV, we are spending too much time talking about it. Woohoo!
This is absolutely true.
Very, very true. So this is the premiere episodes? How do you do this? The first 2 episodes of Agent Carter, which is the Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. mid-season sister series, is what I've decided to refer to it as.
It's technically a sister mini-series because as of right now, it's a one-shot. So.
Right, one-shot mini-series. Got it.
Yeah.
And we got 2 episodes this week. We had the premiere. Actually, I even have the titles queued up, which is interesting because I think they've actually listed out all the various episodes that are going to be airing and when they're going to be airing this miniseries. So now is not the end, and we got Bridge and Tunnel. So just blanket thoughts, guys. What did you think of this show?
I was really impressed. I liked the look and feel of the show visually. You know, I mean, as much as I do, I have a little bit of trouble with period CG, which is kind of the pullback, and you clearly have the fuzzy CG. But it is a normal problem that televisions have, and it's more of a stylistic problem on my part. But I liked it. I liked it a lot. I thought the characters were awesome and fun and interesting. It was nice to see a bunch of people we haven't seen since Captain America. It was just overall good, much punchier, faster start than Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. had. I feel like, like 2 episodes happened, and I feel like a lot happened. So, yeah, it's excellent.
Next, who wants to go?
I also really liked it, pretty much for the reasons James gave. Really enjoyed the characters, some great cinematography, a really great fight scene at the end, which we'll probably be getting into talking about later, just the way it was shot. And I also definitely agreed. Obviously, hit the ground running a lot faster than Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So I'm very much more hooked into the show a lot faster than S.H.I.E.L.D. was. That was with S.H.I.E.L.D. initially.
AJ, do you have anything to add, or can we just ignore you?
Oh, I had my mute on, so it definitely hit the ground running. Before watching the first episode, I queued it up and I watched Captain America, the first Avenger first, and it flowed really well into that.
That's pretty cool. That's a useful advice.
Actually, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I wanted to introduce my girlfriend to the series, but I felt it was better that she watched that movie first, and it actually flowed really well, and it gives you reason why you don't need the big elaborate pilot that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. had, because you already know all the players. You just need to get to work.
Yeah.
I'll go into detail later when we are ready to.
How'd you like it, Frank? I think I love the show. I thought it was really good. I didn't know what I was expecting coming in, to be honest. I don't know. Okay, so I know nothing about Peggy Carter. Like, I don't remember anything about her in the books. I guess I never really read Howling Commandos, which is where I assume she had maybe she had a big role. I didn't do a lot of Sergeant Fury. I was never really into S.H.I.E.L.D. in general in terms of comics. So my only experience has been really from the movies. And I think that's probably what you guys said is like what hit the nail on the head. All these characters, unlike Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which had pretty much one and a few guest stars that we really cared about, and a whole new cast you had to introduce. This one was effectively main characters you cared about, a world you already knew you had a vested interest in, and a bunch of new characters to introduce. So let's talk about our main character, Peggy. I love it. I love her. I think she is very real. I think it's probably one of my favorite opening lines, or like approximately opening lines of all television of all time. That's maybe a little much, but it's the love the hat.
Oh yeah.
And the reason why I love the hat is because it is, I don't know, there's something empowering about the entire, like, she's walking in as a secret agent, but at the same time, she looks good. Like,
Yeah, a second earlier, she's walking down the streets of New York, and she's in line with all these men, and they all have their gray hats with their gray suits, and she's got this bright pink fedora, and it definitely sets her apart from everyone else she's walking with.
yeah, so unfortunately, this hangout is full of guys.
It's her flair.
Yeah, I feel like what I've heard a lot is that it's a tricky thing to do, is to write so that you're both empowering a character, like a female character, but like also allowing her to have something that's like interesting and allowing her to have a certain level of beauty, and like it's complicated and I can't do justice to it, but there's something cool about her both being competent and cool and good looking and a style.
It's hard. Now, I'm also a dude, clearly,
Yeah, thank you.
but it's hard to have a emotionally strong character, and it's hard to have an emotionally strong female character without basing it on a man. Traditionally. Now, this allows her to have a feminine side, but still be a traditionally strong character and be respected in the eyes of the audience.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tricky thing to discuss, and we're not going to even try to touch it because we're not going to do a good job of it. But like, it is interesting, and it's different than Ripley, which is another awesome character, but it's a different thing. I really like this. Plus, I love Carmen Sandiego.
Absolutely.
Did any of you guys happen to do any reading of like any Agent Carter-ish tie-ins or books or anything like that?
I mean, the only Carter I knew of was her, like, I guess, granddaughter Sharon Carter, who I know was as a partner of Captain America in the comics. Right. I actually, honestly, never even knew there was much of Peggy Carter, except occasionally I think I remember seeing Sharon say, "Oh, I talked to my grandma, and she knew you back in the day."
Right, or grandma.
I don't ever really recall anything about any comics focusing on Peggy. I might be completely wrong, so
right. I'm just curious about where we came from. How about you, James?
Yeah, the only stuff outside of I don't know anything from the comics, but I do remember watching the one-shot short she had that got paired with one of the movies where she came in all badass and blew up a bunch of stuff. That was pretty cool.
That is fairly cool.
All right, so who wants to take the lead, bring up the first thing that they want to talk? I was actually kind of interested. I'm not going to throw you under the bus, James. I don't know if you have anything to back this up, but everything you said in the beginning, the top of the show, about period CGI, but that's everyone's heard that. I'm like, what are you even
I don't know if you know. One of the things that they do in shows like this is they'll do everything, but obviously, like, you can use and dress up like the first part of your street or whatever on a soundstage, and then it's all in the background. But to create like very accurate, high quality period piece sets or whatever is a lot of money. So what they do is they just kind of make it like all the like 1920 shows is always like fuzzy in the background, fog's rolling in.
Oh,
hard to see.
I didn't notice that.
But yeah, if you look, it's very common. Well, I mean, it's a typical trick.
It was like there's a lot of pollution. You see Industrial Revolution,
Absolutely. I'd actually, I love Peggy Carter. I think she does a great job. I think one of the things that I thought was really awesome was I like a lot of like the people who were popping up as like guest stars and part of the supporting cast too. Yeah. I think it was a lot of fun for me. Specifically, and I can't.
You mean Howard Stark?
Well, Howard Stark was great. It was great to see. Crap. I moved away from that IMDb page. You're the worst, Frank. I wasn't going to talk about Howard first.
Oh, I just thought you were talking. You could just say you're talking about. You're looking up the name of the actor, Dominic Cooper.
Yes, Dominic Cooper. Thank you. No, It was great to see Dominic Cooper back. He does a great job as Howard Stark, and I like that they're keeping obviously a strong consistency with the Marvel continuity here. to say that this show, more wholly than all the others, has a tricky spot in the continuity. Like, it's definitely Marvel's first piece that they're doing, like, in the past, but in the future. And there's already tons of treaded ground in the future that they have to not step on.
It's in the
characters.
past. It's in the relatively immediate. I know what you're talking about. So basically, and I have not seen the Carter short. Just very quickly, I think at the end of that short, after she kicks ass, she becomes like.
She becomes the director of Shield.
Director of Shield, yeah. The word was director. I was flailing for.
So that has to be way, like in the future, or at least not.
Or she was director for like a week and then lost it for some reason.
I heard they actually are possibly retconning it out, and it's not part of the canon anymore.
That would be interesting because time-wise, it's a little iffy. It's like the timing, the years, and the time it's supposed to happen in the short is off. That's one of the commenters on our Google Plus feed did mention that.
I don't think so, though. Maybe they're retconning the time of the short, but I mean, as far as Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. shows Peggy Carter in a position that is either director of S.H.I.E.L.D. or high up in S.H.I.E.L.D. when she meets Whitehall and all that type of stuff, which is clearly not the position she's at now.
Right.
So they're definitely going to have a lot of work to do there. An interesting tidbit, one of my favorite actors who's actually on the show is Envar, and he plays Daniel. He's the guy who has his leg broken. Or was missing his leg. He's really cool. I like him from Dollhouse, and he's in a lot of other nerd stuff. But a really interesting fact is he's one of the Mook drivers in the Avengers as part of S.H.I.E.L.D. He's like in it for a shot, but just a fun tidbit.
I hope he turns out to be his own great grandson.
Jeez.
So.
Any other like characters or callbacks that you guys liked? I mean, part of the fun of the show like this is looking for all those little details.
Jarvis?
I love Jarvis.
Jarvis is great.
All right, so let's give a little background for people who may not be as aware. Jarvis, if you're only aware of like Marvel cinematic stuff, Jarvis is the name of the like butler program that Tony Stark has since the first movie. And it's actually been some sort of a controversy for fans because Jarvis is actually the butler of Tony Stark and the Avengers as a whole in the comic continuity. He's a real person. So like people were kind of felt like, and remember when Favreau first put out Iron Man, when Marvel put out Iron Man, it was kind of not really, like, no one really knew how much in universe it was going to be. That's a weird thing that happens in comic books, and adaptations, but it's a thing.
When comics or any media is adapted to movies, they always take a harsh cut to it to make it fit and make it more acceptable to the audience.
Yeah, typically, and they drop out a lot of stuff. And one of the things that got just sort of summarily straightened out was Jarvis was just a program. It was a nod to the character in the comics, the butler, but there obviously was not a human being. And people have complained about it, believe it or not, for quite a while.
Wow.
And I can understand why, because it's not like he's just like a nobody character. He does stuff.
No spoilers.
This is an interesting way of bringing him back into continuity as a human being. He is the butler that has to do his misses. Yeah, that was awesome. I can't be adventuring today. I have to tend to my misses. That was freaking great. It was so weird and so good. But yeah, Jarvis, cool.
Yeah, James D'Arcy is a great actor. I think he really does the role justice. I love the interactions between Jarvis and Peggy. They make a good partners in crime, partners fighting crime, like a dynamic duo.
I like that they sit down at the diner back to back, but they make no illusions that they're talking to anyone else. They're having a very loud vocal, with all gestures, having conversation with each other.
Yeah, never concealing their mouth movements.
Shoulders, but they're still having the act of sitting back to back in a diner.
Well, there's actually an explanation for that. In the 40s, it would be considered illegal for a man and a woman to sit together who are not legally wed. So that had nothing to do with spying. It was just
Is that
city
true?
ordinance. No, it was not true. I'm sorry.
Oh, jeez.
It was not at all true, no.
Oh, my God.
I'm actually trying to stand up to get away from my lower third.
Oh, God.
Anyways.
Well, let's talk. Let's talk a little bit about the plot of the 2 episodes. So we got 2 episodes. We got an introductory episode where Howard Stark basically approaches Agent Carter and says that someone has stolen my stuff and is poaching them on the black market. I'm going to go over to Europe and take care of the ones over there. Can you take care of the ones over here for me? And Peggy's just doing her job as she's one of the secret agents here, but she's kind of been pushed to, like secretary.
Yeah.
Yeah. A good part of the story, I mean, aside from the beats of the plot itself, is how women who were very important to the war effort became sort of subjugated or sort of... subjugated, I guess, is a good word.
Yeah, like
it's too late.
During World War II, since
yeah.
all the men went away, they had to run the factories. They were riveting planes
Now
together.
they were relegated. That's the word. Relegated to minor positions.
Yeah.
Which I think is interesting. And one of them, which is Howard Stark reaches out to her because they've got this great professional relationship.
Yeah. They're not just doing it with women, too. I think, obviously women are an important focus, but I think they are also taking an interesting angle with, with Daniel, the character of Daniel, being handicapped in the war effort as well.
Yeah, I think Peggy just has a warm place in her heart for people who are feeble after Steve. I actually wrote that down in my notes. I feel embarrassed by it.
You should be.
Yeah. That's terrible. But yeah, so I like the idea of a secret Stark vault being raided. That seems like it's like endless supply of awesome potential for the future. And I also like the idea that they're dealing with the issues of this is Marvel's first ever female-fronted TV show.
Yeah,
seems like I'm just adding.
It's Marvel's first ever female-fronted cinematic anything.
Yeah, which sounds like we're just adding like adjectives to make it seem more like rare, but Marvel's been doing stuff on television since the 70s. So and it's had movies and stuff. I mean, it's become really popular in the aughts or in this millennia, but it is pretty significant. And the fact that they chose to set it in a time period where like equality is less of a guarantee, the fact that she can be dealing with workplace harassment and it doesn't seem like it's shoehorned politics. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like if they set that if this was a series set in 2015 and like she was being harassed in the workplace, there would be a million men's rights activists going like that never happens. But the fact that they set it in World War II or post World War II allows them to tell these stories and to use this as sort of like a spotlight without having to, suffer the slings of arrows of quite as many people.
It's actually kind of curious. One of the complaints I've seen about the show is that people are saying, oh, the sexism and misogyny in Agent Carter, it's too over the top. And, like, that's how it kind of was back then. I mean, from what we've seen in the show and from, like, my understanding of history, like, that was kind of it. That's how gender roles are treated, and kind of bring things back the whole entire thing about the relegation of women, the misogyny and sexism. It's kind of interesting to see. It isn't like sometimes it's not meant to be like malicious. It was just that was just the way things were. Like I'm thinking of the scene where when Peggy's talking to her roommate and how a bunch of the women at her roommate's factory were fired because the men were coming back and they had to have a job.
Right.
So, I guess the women don't need it anymore. So because we gotta give it back to the men. And like how like the gender politics and beliefs were institutionalized back then.
Yeah, and it's not like it's over. Like it's not like every interaction in the series so far, the 2 episodes, the 2 hours we've seen, has been like it like relentless beating up. She is competent and does her job very well, except for the few times she really like when she got spooked by the phone ringing. I was like, oh man, but yeah, it could happen to the best of us. But there's like there are people in there who are legitimately like okay with what she is and what she's done. I hearken back to like at the party, somebody asked her to dance, and she said no, and he let it go. And I was like, yeah, all right. If this was really just like a 2-hour propaganda film of how horrible men are, that scene would have ended slightly differently. Even the jerk in the, well, for the most part, the guy from Super Troopers who was the bad customer at the restaurant giving the business to the waitress friend who seems like she's going to be a bigger deal later in the series. It's a wide spectrum of stuff. There's a lot of weird things. Even the all right, so there's a point where Peggy's roommate dies as a result of basically the unfolding of the plot. Now, people die all the time on television, right? They are constantly. So many TV shows have victims of the week. Yet this show, like, there are consequences to the fact that her life led to consequences that resulted in her roommate dying. Like, she didn't want to take a roommate. She didn't want to, like, know anyone. She was crying. It was all, like, a real thing. And I do think that was interesting and something you don't see in a lot of shows.
I feel like it's a kind of a classic superhero conundrum. Keeping the identity a secret and keeping the people that you care about safe. And like it's kind of really neat how they're really drawing parallels between Peggy and Captain America, and like how they're kind of pretty much showing that Peggy, even though it kind of takes her a while to really fully understand it, like she's very as much as a hero as someone as like Captain America. Which actually I want to lead into like my favorite part of this show, or the Captain America radio show.
Well, wait, before we get there, Matt, can I stop you really quick? I want to go quickly over a little tidbit from how the episode ends. If you remember, the episode ends with Peggy confronting two people, both who have their voice boxes removed in their throats, and the reveal of an organization called Leviathan.
Mm-hmm.
Correct? That was this episode. As well as a bit of a tease for us, a bit of a misguidance, a misleading, if you will, that maybe what Howard Stark and Jarvis have asked Peggy Carter to do is not exactly what it seems. That was how the first episode ended.
Yeah. I didn't realize we were separating this out through episodes. But
I just think it's better to compartment.
Yeah, part of the reason why we're like running out of time for this hangout, unless we want to go a little longer, is because we're doing like it's a premiere of a new series and it's 2 episodes long. So bear with us. I agree with Matt. That was my favorite part. So Matt, take it away with the Captain America hour.
And I love how they did the old time, how they used to do sound effects by like eating a piece of meat or like hitting a box. They have the mandatory advertisement placement when the female romantic interest talks about her new like swing line.
So maybe it's just me that finds it terribly ironic, but when they're doing the sounds of the sounds that are the fake sounds, I still hear all the stock sounds that they use in all the movies. So they're not actually like making those sounds from those noises. I don't know. Am I the only? I'm the only one this bothers. That they're using sound effects over sound effects to make sound effects.
If you use a lot of sound effects libraries, you start to get very used to it. Yeah. And what James is saying is that it's a sound effect of man doing Foley work as opposed to the actual Foley work.
Yeah. But I want to go back, going back to what I said at the beginning, my favorite part. I mean, I absolutely loved the fight at the end where they juxtapose the fight from the radio play to Peggy fighting that guy and find the guy where the milk truck was.
Yeah, that was really
I thought that was fantastic bit of cinematography and really kind of shows how much of a parallel Peggy is to Captain America, how she is pretty much the 1940 1946 superhero.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was my favorite part. Not only as a radio guy, but like I just really like the cutting and the fact that Betty Carter, I think is the character's name in the play. Betty Carter is a nurse and victim. That's her. That's like almost her job title, nurse and victim. Betty Carter, and Captain America as a saver. And meanwhile, Captain America's chilling out.
Boo!
He's chilling
Womp
out while she's doing all the crime fighting. Shut up. It was good. Good
You
quality.
wrote that one down too, Frank?
I did not. That came out of the top of my head, believe it or not. Yep. Anyways, yeah, that was probably my favorite part. There were some. Do we want to talk about non-character based call-outs? I don't know. If anybody else has a way they would have. We did not plan this show out, if it wasn't apparent by now. I like all the call-outs that they did in the show that were like things where I got to scream, I know what that is, but I did, it's not that. Roxxon. That was one of my favorites. Roxxon. It took me a while to remember where I last heard that, but it's mostly Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that it's important. It was a little bit in the comics, like in Spider-Man 2000.
Iron Man, right?
Huh?
I feel like they were mentioned in Iron Man too.
Yeah, I think it was mentioned in Iron Man.
It was mentioned in Iron Man. It's one of the big like conglomerate corporations out there. But if their claim to fame is Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they're the company that put together Deathlock.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
We just lost
actually talked
AJ.
about one of the hangouts. AJ just blew his mind right out of it.
Actually, and also speaking of Leviathan is connected to the comic Secret Warriors. So I'm wondering if they're going to bring Leviathan into Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. now that they have Daisy Johnson and Dr. Hyde revealed, who are pretty major characters from that comic storyline.
Oh, neat. So all I know about Leviathan, and I only know about it from looking it up, which I will admit, is that if the U.S. or the Allies had S.H.I.E.L.D., the Axis, I guess, had Hydra, and the Soviets had Leviathan. That's all I got from the interwebs. Something to do with the Brood and like the Secret Warriors, I guess. But I don't know much about it. But that sounds really cool because at this time period, yeah, the Soviets would be more of a concern, and it's not something we've seen much of in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, except for a certain character who showed up in Iron Man 2.
Oh yes.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Well, Whiplash, but the scientist.
Yeah, the scientist by the milk truck was related to Whiplash, wasn't he?
Yes, it's apparently
His father?
Anton Vanko
Yes, Van
is
Gogh.
in fact the Anton Vanko you see later on in Iron Man 2, who is helping Ivan make something about the who Whiplash is very confusing. It looks like he's Crimson Dynamo, but he's like they mixed his background up with Whiplash. I don't really know what's going on, but it has something to do with that character that we saw teaching his son Ivan how to get revenge against the Starks.
And he eventually, and according to Iron Man 2, it's him who works with Tony Stark to create like early warp reactor technology or whatever.
Yeah. And somehow get screwed out. Maybe by work with, he means that at one point I was stealing stuff from Stark's vault. I don't really know. There's a
For
lot
what
of
we've
places.
seen, like he seemed to be friendly, because like Jarvis takes Peggy to him. Is like, oh, this is a friend we know, and he kind of helps them out. But maybe we'll see how that relationship falls apart in this miniseries.
Right. I want to bring up one more thing. I mean, there's lots of references to Vita Rays. There's entire clips from Captain America, which I don't know about what you guys think about that.
I think it was just a cheap way of getting high-quality cinematics into your pilot episode.
And Chris Evans.
And Chris Evans.
Yeah. But the two things that I thought were amazing, only one of them I noticed. I do want to bring it up. Lucky Star Cab Company.
Oh yeah.
Is the Peggy flees from the scene of one of the capers where she's in the blonde wig, in a Lucky Star cab, which is of course the first star shield that Captain America had right after the transformation. That was pretty cool. But the thing I really had no clue about was Mary was the legal secretary at Goodman, Kurtzman, and Holloway. She's one of the girls that that are living in the apartment complex that wants to like recruit Peggy towards the end of the second episode. That law firm, Goodman, Kurtzman, and Holloway, is the law firm that She-Hulk works at.
Oh yes, yes.
Yeah,
That's really neat.
so that is a cool little thing that I would have never picked up on. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that a lot.
Now, actually, I had wondered in the when she's going through Captain America's file for the Vita-Ray technology, I had wondered why they hovered so long on the piece of technology she was taking. So I looked up the name of the scientist that said property of what?
Yeah, go ahead.
Property of a Erskine?
Erskine, the scientist that
I never really pronounced his name correctly.
the Steve Rogers form. It's not right. Yeah, but yeah, he's who helped bring us Captain America. Yeah, there's lots of little things here. Some of them are bigger than others, but I do like. None of it to me was message hammer plot device, like where it's just like this is something that's important. Look at this for a couple of minutes. I think they did a pretty good job of interweaving most of it into the story.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else?
Well, I think before we finish up, we should mention if there was something we didn't like. Is there anything particularly that irked us, something that we want them to improve on? I still need more time to think about it, so someone else go first.
What a jerk.
Okay.
I'm not super 100% okay. Like, the whole Captain America thing, especially the scenes that they keep cutting back to, I guess it was essential for the first episode. I could do with less. I mean, unless they have original footage to show me, it's not just because I've seen it. It's also because, like, I don't want Peggy Carter's entire motivation to be sorrow over the loss of Captain America, especially considering the fact that lots of people seem to have died in World War II. So, like, the one guy, there's other people. I feel like we could tone it down with that. That's one of mine.
Yeah, I kind of felt like there was a lot of Captain America in this, like actual footage from Captain America in it.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of rubbed me the same way that there were so many clips from Lord of the Rings in the Hobbit movies. And so much Lord of the Rings in the Hobbit movies. It's like the same thing. Like, yes, we're tying in the fact that we came from this very successful movie franchise, so we're going to keep throwing it in our show. When I really just want to watch the show, if I wanted to watch Captain America, which I did, I watched the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it may have hit me harder because I literally watched the movie and then watched the first episode of Peggy Carter.
Yeah, that could probably have a more adverse effect.
But it's like I literally just saw that scene.
I just saw this, damn it.
I literally just saw this footage on the screen that I'm watching this show on.
How about you two? Did you come up with something, James? How about you, Matt?
I don't know. I can't.
Period CGI. Say that. Steal it from James.
Period CGI. Cough, cough.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest, despite the fact that I brought it up, I'm not thrilled about the Stark misdirection. I think unless they can do something really clever with it, like we know it's Stark was a traitor all along. No, that's probably not it. This guy turned into like Marvel Walt Disney. So, he did.
Clearly that means Walt Disney was a traitor all along.
So obviously he's not actually this crazy traitor.
That's a good one.
Don't play with stuff we already know to be true. So unless they can do something really interesting with it, and I'm not saying that they can't, but obviously I already know it's not he's a traitor. So what is it?
We did see a pretty an interesting clip of an impassioned Peggy saying that she trusted Howard. I really like the way Howard and Peggy have been acting with each other. Like, there's a lot of flirting, but it ended really like
professionally.
Professionally, there was a professional hug.
Also, he's doing the Robert Downey Jr. thing. He flirts with everybody. It's just a Stark thing.
He's Tony Stark. He's not Robert Downey Jr. There is a difference.
Nah, the same thing.
Yes. All right. Are we prepared to wrap up? Anybody have anything else they want to add?
One more
like
thing. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I have such a hard time getting a bearing on where technology should be.
Is this a personal
because
problem?
I know during that time period there shouldn't be video cameras, but there are. Because comics say there are video cameras, because Stark's technology advanced us further than we probably supposed to be, and Tesseract technology, whatever. But like, there were so many technological advances in the show that didn't exist yet. And it's kind of irksome, but at the same time, it's within comic book continuity. I don't know what to make of it yet.
That's not true. There were definitely video cameras in World War II.
You mean film cameras? Is that what's happening here?
There were film cameras. You could make a film and play it in a movie theater, but you could not see it real time.
Yeah.
That technology did not exist. Radio was new then. Being able to have a two-way radio, that was brand new.
When was
an edge against the Axis that we had.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember when the video happened.
Video feeds.
Yeah, I'm trying to wrap my brain when there was actually a scene of that.
When I'm pretty sure in the factory? No.
I think you're lying to us, AJ.
Unrelated and possibly just saving AJ. I've loved the whole typewriter spy crazy voice box thing.
I do like that.
Creepy as hell.
Yeah, that was really cool.
It made me want to watch Fringe.
Yeah, I was gonna say my first reactions I saw was like, oh, it's Fringe. I actually kind of like me personally. I guess locationally, I kind of liked how a lot of shots, actually, especially near the end of the second episode, took place in New Jersey.
New Jersey.
I like how they're keeping things local. Actually, although New Jersey is pretty significant in Captain America as well, that's because that's where Steve went to a boot camp. So, yeah, New Jersey.
Finally, some cred.
Some recognition.
And that's why everything smells the way it does, because of that going off and evaporating that stank lake. That's the origin.
Right.
All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. Thank you for listening and watching our Agent Carter Hangout special. If you enjoyed this, and even if you didn't, subscribe. Non-Productive. It's youtube.com/nonproductive. You should know that because you're watching this video right now. But thank you all for joining us. We can't wait to be back in a week to discuss even more of the thing we just talked about. Yes, that's right. More Agent Carter next week, coming from us and our brain. Yay for everything. Agent Carter. Woo! I'm not stalling just for the theme music to come up. Yay! Bye, everybody. Bye.